H2K Infosys provides world-class online IT training, staffing and software testing solutions to customers worldwide. H2K Infosys supports 100% job-oriented training, hands-on project work, cloud test lab, resume preparation and review, mock interviews, robust syllabus. One-time pay, lifetime access to live classes and videos. H2K Infosys has won the trust of thousands of students worldwide. For free demo class, visit h2kinfosys.com.
All right. Okay, I hope you guys are able to see my screen now. Okay, so there's a question coming in. Can we use Python for test automation? So my answer is it depends on what kind of application you want you are working on. Okay, so I know that if you are having some sort of Java related stuff, you can automate using Java, obviously. And you can learn Selenium for doing some sort of automation as well, which is pretty much related to Java. All right, so that's all I can say right now. And okay, so I was kind of going through these slides here. I was talking about that my name is Jairam, and I've got almost 14 plus 15 years of experience. And these are the platforms like Java J2E, and these are the domains I've worked on. Okay, and I will not talk about H2K Infosys today. I mean, I think you guys might have done some research on that as well. And as I said, this is not a kind of a demo session, so I'm not going deep inside any of those topics here. Okay, and I hope every one of you must be aware of a couple of websites like Dice, Career Builder, Monster, and Indeed, and a lot more have come out as well. Okay, and so I would kind of go through this particular slide in depth a little bit to give you understanding about what all things we are going to learn in this entire session. Okay, so I'll take a few minutes of time and then we will go over what all things we have discussed in the previous sessions, and then we will continue from there, as I said, in a very slow pace initially, because a lot of people who are coming in, they might be having troubles in figuring out what's going on. Okay, so for all the old folks, when I say old folks who have joined last class, and I've instructed them to install few of the softwares, we can have a discussion over there so that people who are pretty new, or let's say 1 day old, they can at least figure out or understand like what all softwares you have installed. Okay, so if you guys have any problems installing in understanding the previous class softwares which has to be installed, do let me know. We can have a discussion, and so that will be kind of helpful for others also. Okay. All right. So coming on to the course objective, these are the whole topic we are going to learn. Well, not less. There are a lot of other hidden topics also, which I have not added out here. Okay. Now this is our core Java from. So when I say core Java, it's all about understanding what is a programming language. Doesn't matter what programming language it is. You can pick up. I mean, the basics. What we're going to learn, you can use it in any programming language. Okay. Now we will particularly understand about how Java works. What are the syntaxes of Java? How to write hello world program? How to write a object-oriented program? What are the different libraries you have? We cannot touch base all the libraries, but we will go through how to use a library. Okay, so it's part of it. But again, what is a library? It's like if you want to read a book, what do? You just go to a library. You don't buy a book. Technically, if a book costs pretty costly, what do? You basically go to a library, borrow it, read it, give it back. Right. So pretty much same thing. Java has got a lot of bunch of libraries. We can use it. We'll talk about those things as well. So this is all about core Java. We'll understand, right? As I said, if I go back to the next slide here a little bit, these are the things we're going to understand, like object-oriented concepts, multi-threading, string handling, collections, input and output operations, generics, exception, JDBC reflections, and there are a lot more also. As I said, it's again not possible for me to write everything in a single slide though. Okay, so and for the new folks also, like as my old folks knows, that this session is almost going to be for almost 45 hours. Okay, so it's like 3 days a week, pretty much minimum 1 hour of session. It might go to 1.5 hours depending on the situation, scenarios, and likewise. But yeah, pretty much we will cover up 45 hours of class. Okay, and out of 45 hours of class, we would pretty much dedicate almost 18 to 20 classes only on the CoreJava functionality, because that's very important. I feel like if you understand the CoreJava concepts, understanding all the other concepts are pretty much easy. Okay, so this is more or less on the core concepts, and in and around there are so many advanced concepts like when we talk about the client server application, or in general when you want to Google something, you open up a browser, Google it, say google.com, type in something and enter, right? So what is that you're doing? You're sending some request to some server actually. So if you guys are pretty new to this distributed application, I mean, we every now and then we use it, but maybe we do not know some of the terminologies, right? So we are basically using some sort of distributed application, right? So when I say distributed application, in your browser, you type in anything, send enter, you get a response from somewhere, correct? It's not in your laptop or in your machine. Now it's something like if you feel hungry, you know that you have rice, you have some salads and all in the fridge, you go and get it from there. So it's kind of a local, okay? But again, if you want to buy some pizza from McDonald's or let's say Domino's, what do? You basically order it, make a phone call, right? And then someone brings it to you. So maybe think about Domino's as kind of a server. You send a request, you get a response back. So we are going to pretty much talk about those features in this concept. Okay, so we'll see how to develop those kind of programs using HTML, Java, JSPs, and Apache Tomcat. So these are kind of a server-side technologies. We will see how to use it, how to program it, and likewise. Okay, so we need to have this as a must in order to get onto this one. Okay, so there are a few other things like we'll talk about IntelliJ, Eclipse. These are the IDEs which we are going to use it, and there are other frameworks like Hibernate. In particular, we'll talk about something as a Spring JPA. We will have a touch base on what is a database all about. We'll talk about Postgres or MySQL or Oracle database. Or there are many different kind of databases. Okay, so you can choose any one, but I would recommend using Postgres. That's what we are going to use it. And there are times we can even use something known as inbuilt memory, inbuilt database also, in-memory database. Okay, well, I'll talk about those things as well. Okay, and then once we talk about Hibernate or database-related concepts, we will move on to something known as Spring or Spring Boot. Those are two different things, but Spring Boot has Spring inside this. Okay, it's like a house has got a bathroom, right? Likewise, Spring Boot has inside Spring Boot you have got Spring. So basically, we'll talk about Spring, and then we will understand what is the Spring Boot all about as well. Okay, so these are pretty much very important frameworks because you would use a lot, even though if you're a Java developer, you would use Spring framework a lot in your applications for sure. Okay, so once we finish up this Spring or Spring Boot, this by itself has got many different verticals, many different modules. We'll try to touch base the important modules inside this. Like, let me just take you to the one of the slide which talks about Spring and whatnot. So here we go. So when we talk about Spring, these are the different modules we have it. Okay, we will try to touch base every single module. We'll try to understand why do we have so many different modules also. Okay, so it's pretty interesting to know like why do we have all these things. So there's a question coming in: what is the IDE that we need to download in Java version? So IDE you have to download IntelliJ, and Java version you can choose the latest one. You can take if you want JDK 13, but you can take the latest ones also. Okay, but I would recommend, because I have JDK 11, right? Yeah. So we are not going to just see all the features, which is entirely impossible. So JDK 11 is also okay. JDK 13 is also okay. So, but I believe if you just Google it saying JDK download, you will get the latest one. So it's okay for you to download the latest one also. Okay, but IDE just install IntelliJ. If you are inclined towards Eclipse, if you know something about it, I have no problem. But all my programs and all, I would be doing it using IntelliJ itself. Okay. All right. So from Spring to Spring Boot, we will move on to web services. This is also kind of a client to server side technology, pretty much similar to what we have it here, but slightly different objective of why do we have a web service, right? So there are kind of different kind of web services like top down, bottom up approaches, different approaches. So we will be using it. Different kind of web services like SOAP based, RESTful services. We will also talk about those things also. Okay, so pretty much testers, they use these web services a lot more because they would do a lot of testing, by the way, for different external applications, right? Because these days everything is based out of microservices, right? So we will also talk about what is a microservices. It's basically two different applications talking to each other using web services. It's well, pretty early to talk about it, but yeah, we have a concept known as microservices, in which you mostly use web services in order to communicate with each other. Okay, we'll talk about it likewise. So there are some tools also like SOAP UI, which you would be using it for what is that? Testing a web service, right? So there are different tools also, but we would pretty much use SOAP UI. You can also use something as a Postman, which is browser based. This you have to download it and install it in your machine, right? We will talk about these, how to install it. Well, at the time when we are here, you should be all prominent enough to understand like how to install softwares and likewise. Okay. Now, there are a couple of other frameworks like Log4j, JUnit. We will be using GitHub for version control. Like we'll be using a cloud-based location wherein I would be checking in files. I would be requesting you guys to create your own login, create some repositories, have your own repository created, checking your files. So all those activities we will be doing it as part of this session as well. So it's going to be a day-to-day, daily activity. You don't have to memorize anything. I will make sure that you understand every bits and pieces of these things also. Okay. So talking about a database, we have got a tool also like SQL Oracle Developer. This is also need to download and install it in your machine in order to use it. We'll talk about that, how to use it likewise. Okay. So after talking about core Java, advanced like server-side technologies, Spring Boot, Hibernate, web services, we've got something as the Apache Maven also. It's kind of a build tool. Then last we'll talk about ActiveMQ, right? So this is one important feature also. Okay. So well, everything is important out here, believe me or not. Okay. But yeah, this is one important feature wherein you can do some sort of asynchronous communication. Okay, so people do asynchronous communication on a day-to-day basis. You send a message to your friend, right? Sometimes your friend is not active. Maybe he's out of range, but you still send a message. The moment your friend comes online, he or she receives a message, right? So it's kind of an asynchronous communication. You make a phone call to someone, your friend does not respond. What do? You send a voicemail. Then after some time, the voicemail is being read by someone, right? Likewise, you do a day-to-day, you do asynchronous communication, but we will see how to do that using something known as ActiveMQ and JMS. Okay, so and everything out here, right? Web services, ActiveMQ, and Hibernate, we will all use Spring itself. So Spring is everywhere. So understanding Spring is one of the core objective. of any developer, by the way. So they should understand what is Spring all about, by the way. Okay, so I'll make sure that you guys understand those things and make sure yourself pretty much more comfortable in writing some Spring code and at least understanding what it is, right? If you understand the basics, everything follows along with it, right? So that's all pretty much I had for or have for today on this particular slide. I'll not go deep inside other slides also, but let's talk about what all things we did in the previous session and what I'm expecting from you guys. And also, I'll just take you to one of the screen wherein for the enrollment also. So if you guys have joined for the first time, you can enroll to my session. As you can see that we have already started the session. And it's good time for you to enroll it. If you have any questions, concerns, you can reach out to me at jram.h2kinfosys@gmail.com, or regarding enrollment process, you can reach out to this phone number 770-777-1269 or to these email IDs. So pretty much you should be having all the email IDs because you should have got some emails from someone to attend this session, by the way, right? So I'm not worried about these email IDs or phone numbers, but yeah, so this is my email ID. You can reach out to me using this ID, okay? And one other thing I mentioned, probably I should even add it to some of my slides, that we would also have a Slack channel, okay? And every single developer, well, I will notify you as a developer. So you guys will be part of a Slack channel, and you guys can have communication. I usually communicate using a Slack channel. So let me just tell you, SLACK, right? So if you guys have never used Slack, it's time for you to use it because it's hot in the market. People use this for chatting and whatnot. But just to give you a heads up, we have these Slack channels right now, right? I've got batch 32, 31, blah, blah, blah. So yours will be batch 33. And you can see that all my students for that particular batch, they are part of it. Okay, and in general, you can see also, where is that? I mean, I've got different topics, different channels. You can post some question in those channels and likewise, right? So this is one of the things which you would be using it on a day-to-day basis. I would suggest you to download it, install it in your phone, like you install WhatsApp, right? Likewise, you also install Slack, join in. If you have any notification I have to give it to you, you guys can instantly get it, right? If you have any questions, you can just type in the Slack channels. Anyone can respond to you, or otherwise I can also respond to you. So it's pretty open. You can have an open discussion forum also to get started, right? Okay, so not to talk much about some miscellaneous things. Let's get on to the browser. So if you guys have any questions, folks, please do not hesitate to ask me. I would recommend not to unmute yourself. I would recommend for you to type in and ask me any kind of questions. But if you still feel that, or if I feel that you are not able to understand any kind of statements which I'm giving it, then I would unmute you by myself. Okay. So, all right. So what I was talking about in the previous session is what are softwares to be installed, right? So I think everyone knows how to Google it. There's no question about it. Now, in order to download or install some softwares, I would just say, let's say Java download, right? So as we are going to talk about Java, so you just say Java download. So this is where you kind of go to the very first link. Just say Java for you download today. So just click on this. It'll ask you for some agreement and stuff and all. So you just say agree and it starts downloading. Okay. So if it asks you for an ID or a user ID and password, just go ahead and create one for you. Okay. It's pretty straightforward, by the way. All right. So it is recommended version 8. So it is recommending me to use the version 8. I don't know, they have some logic to figure out, but I will pretty much download the latest one. Okay, so I already have downloaded the latest one, by the way. So there's another way of doing it. So I would just go back and just say JDK download. Okay, JDK download. JDK in the sense the Java development kit. So I hope it will take you to the same screen. No, there's a different screen out here. Okay, so all you have to do is click on this JDK download, and depending on your version also. Now the latest JDK is JDK 14, by the way. So you can download this, install it in your machine, by the way. Okay. So I was talking in the previous session how to download it. Depending on you are using Linux or Mac or Windows, you'd be clicking on these respective softwares. Okay. So for Windows, I would click on this one. This is an exe file. It's pretty easy. Download this. Once it downloads, double click on that and just follow with your next. Okay, so downloading and installing JDK is pretty straightforward, right? So I'll just kind of copy this and paste it here. So this is sent to all. Okay, so there's a question coming in. No, sent to all, right? I think I've sent it to everyone. Sent to all, yeah. So first time downloading Slack channel, how do I find you? Well, Nick, actually what happens is when I create the channel, I haven't created the channel yet. I would be sending a link to everyone. Okay, so you guys just need to follow that link and automatically you'll be in my channel, right? So you have to wait for it. I'm not rushing on that because we are in the very initial session right now, right? So this is what I mentioned to download the JDK software or Java software, and pretty much we are all good, right? And the next thing which I recommended to download is IntelliJ. So just taking Google it, google.com, IntelliJ download, right? So this is what we have it. It basically belongs to JetBrains, and if you are a student, you can download the Ultimate edition. If you're not, then you can kind of download the Community edition also. Okay, so most of the programs what we would be doing, this is sufficient for us to do it. Okay, so I would recommend you guys to download this Community edition and use it, right? Okay, so this is also pretty straightforward. Download it, double click on that, install it. That's it, right? Pretty straightforward, guys. Now, just a question. Did my previous, I mean, when I say the guys who have already enrolled and joined the previous session, did you guys get a chance to download these softwares and install it in your machine? Was there any problems from anyone? If you have already installed it, just type in yes. And if you are trying to install and you have problems, you can just ping me and say, got problems. Okay, I'll just give you guys a minute, not a minute, sorry, maybe 10 seconds, and then I can move on. Process of installing, okay. And how about others? Did you guys get a chance to install these softwares? Okay, all right. So if you guys can do it now, also it is pretty good enough. Do it. Now again, I think everyone should be having 64-bit operating system, so should not be any problem at all, right? But so I would give you some time for you to install that if you have not installed it. If not, we can get started. Okay. Right. I think it's if you guys are installing it now, it'll take its own course of action to install it. So I can kind of get moving. So these are the two things which I told or recommended to install it. So the second thing is you would be using something known as a command prompt or a terminal. Okay, so if you do not know anything about terminal or command prompt, this is what it is. All right. In Windows, you would be seeing, if you just click on your Windows key and type in command prompt, this is pretty much same window you would be looking out for. Okay, something is a black or a blue one. Unless you open up a PowerShell in Windows, you would see something as a blue screen. Otherwise, it's pretty much going to be the same thing. Okay, so if you have not done it anytime before in your lifetime, click on the Windows key now, right, and then start typing command command. You would see something as a command prompt. Okay, or there's a shortcut, something as a Windows key and R at the same time, and just type in CMD. The two options you have it to do it. So this is kind of a command prompt which opens up. Okay, so once you install Java in your machine, just type in Java -version. It'll tell you that, sorry, I have got 13 version, not even 11. I've got version 13 here. Okay, so it will tell you that which version of Java you have installed. Right, it's pretty straightforward. And you can give some Java commands, Java C. So when you see something is happening, something you're able to see, then you feel that, okay, everything is good. Okay, so make sure that you download and do give all these commands like Java, simple Java, right, and Java C. Okay, so there are a couple of other options which we are not going to talk about all these things. You don't mostly will use it, but yeah, there are other options which you can use it as part of the command line argument. Right. I think the voice was pretty low, right? Is the voice pretty good now? I just realized that the speaker was lying down. Sorry, the mic was lying down. But I believe, yes, the voice would be pretty good right now. All right. Okay, so I would suggest all of you to do that if you have not done it. Okay. And the next thing what we saw was how to write a simple Java program, right? So I would recommend what to do something like this, right? In your machine, create a folder, any folder wherein you can start writing your programs. So in my case, I've created something known as a folder known as batch 33. Okay. Now, maybe does anyone have anytime use command prompt, guys? Where are you typing in the black screen? What software is that? Okay. So this is a command prompt or a terminal, right? So technically you would not use it all the time, but it's good to know about what is this software all about, right? So that's the reason I was saying, just type in your command, if you're using Windows, just press on your Windows key and leave it. Then you would see a prompt. Just type in command. Just type the one which I'm giving it here. Okay, just try that, and you would see that it'll pop up to a particular software, and you can install it. So it's something like if I come in here and say chess, right? So I know there's a software known as chess in my machine. If I just click on this, I can open that up. Likewise, in your Windows, I don't know why I'm saying, but I'm just saying it so that everyone are on the same page. So in the Windows machine, Windows key, I cannot show you that, and just type in command. All right, so it'll bring you to the same screen, by the way. Okay, pretty much similar to this screen what you are seeing it. Now in this, I typed few commands Java, but in order to come to this particular software, it's a command prompt or a terminal in case of your Linux based operating system. Okay, you have to first install Java. you don't need to install IntelliJ for that, but you have to install Java for that. But again, this software is different. I mean, even though you have not downloaded Java, you can still open this up. Okay, maybe I would like to do something else. I would like to know like what different files and folders do I have. So usually what you do is, if you want to kind of open up, let's say, any folder, right, in your Windows operating system, what do? You use something known as a Windows Explorer, right? Now, Windows Explorer are used when you want to visualize things, right? But usually developers, they don't need to see all these. Let's say if you have a music file, you want to open it up. What do? You come to a folder, right? And then you double click that particular file, and then it opens up, correct? But developers, what do they do is they don't usually go to this Windows Explorer, or in case of your Mac, it is a Finder. They do everything using command line itself. Whatever you can do it here, you can do it here also. But this is more visual, right? I can say, okay, I want to see in a different format. I can see now in a different format, right? I can see now with some sort of thumbnails here. But here, everything is pretty straightforward and clean. So let's say, for instance, I go to the downloads, right? If you click on the downloads, I have downloaded many different things. So I can see all these things out here. But if I want to do it from the command line, what I have to do, I can go to something known as the downloads, right? See this? You can see the same thing, what you see it here as well. So join. So where is my join? So this is the join. Apache Active MQ. Where's my Apache Active MQ? This is the one, okay? Out here. So if you see the count, everything will be the same here. The only thing is, this is your, you are able to visualize it using some sort of Windows Explorer or Finder. But here it's like pretty simple file names. But here, if you see the extension, yes, you can figure out what are these files, by the way. That's the only difference. If you guys have never used it, start using it slowly, and eventually you will do that, believe me or not. For IntelliJ installed to untie, I select 32-bit. I mean, if you have 64-bit, I would recommend using 64-bit 64-bit softwares. Okay, should not be a problem. But if you are installing Java 64-bit, IntelliJ 32-bit, you might end up some problems. For me, it's been a long time using 32-bit. Any of the softwares is 32-bit. Okay, so if you can install the 64-bit, go ahead and do that. Okay, so last thing what we did is, I created a folder known as development. Under that I've got GitHub. Under that I've got batch 33. Okay. So last thing what I did is I created a simple Java program also. So what does that Java program looks like? So let's say I'm going to remove everything. Okay. So RM in the sense remove. You will eventually understand all these commands and all. Can you explain what is 32-bit and 64-bit? Well, Ruxara 34-bit and 64-bit. So there are different operating systems. Okay, so those are pretty much on the operating system world. When you install any operating system, let's say Windows initially was coming with 32-bit operating system. Okay, so now we are somewhere in the world of 64-bit operating system. It's pretty much more faster than your 32-bit operating system. Okay, so that's all I can say right now. But yeah, mostly every software, every laptop or machine comes with 64-bit operating system by default. Okay, nothing to do with Java, by the way. It's pretty much on the operating system world. Okay, all right. PWD in a sense, present working directory. And again, these are not something you needed for Java, some miscellaneous things. Even though you don't get it today, I have no intention of explaining you, because eventually you will get it, all these things. Okay, but something is like, suppose you are here, right? So assuming I'm doing it clear, so you do not know where you are now. If you go to the Finder or your Windows Explorer in your Windows machine or so, you know where you are, right? You say, okay, this is I'm in the downloads. If I go inside, let's say DVD rental, I know that somewhere in your Windows Explorer, I can figure out that where exactly I am, right? By you would be having a toolbar wherein you can say, or the address, wherein you can at least say where you are. Or if I right click on this and say get info, I can figure out like where exactly this file is present, right? It is in your user jrout downloads. I can know, right? But in a command prompt, how do I know where I am? I do not know anything about it, right? So what I can do is I can just say pwd. It says something like, what is my present working directory? So it will tell me the complete path where I am. Okay, so just think about, you just wake up, open up your eyes, and you are somewhere in the world and you do not know anything about it, right? All you do is, in order to figure out where you are, you just open up your phone, which is a smartphone. Then you can figure out that where exactly you are, right? You need some device to do that. So pwd is a device for me to do, to figure out where I am. Okay, all right. So what I can do is I can write a program. Now you can write a program in different ways. I will kind of show you how to write it not using a command prompt or some editor. I would use something as a notepad or a Sublime Text. So if you guys are from Windows world, for sure you would be having a software known as Notepad, Notepad. Okay, Notepad. So again, depending on which operating system you're using, if you're using Windows, you would be having a Notepad. If you're using uh, anyone who's using Linux-based folks operating system right now, I don't see any yeses. So I would assume that everyone are using Windows operating system, right? Okay. So in a Windows, you would be having something as a notepad. I would recommend you to download a software known as Sublime Text. Okay. So this is a Sublime Text, a text editor, a simple text editor. Okay. You would not eventually use this, but it's a good to have it one. Believe me or not. But yes, good to have one. Okay. Now, it's an external software. And as I said, you don't have to have this one. You can also install something as a Notepad++ or a Notepad, which you already have it, by the way. Windows comes by default with Notepad. So as I said before, to open up a command prompt, likewise the same thing, you press on your command Windows key and just type in Notepad. Okay? And then whatever comes up with a name Notepad, just enter on that. Then you would be you can see a kind of a screen. Mine is a black one. You would see a white color notepad. Okay, so that's all I have to say now. You do that, practically you will figure out what I'm talking about. Okay, so in that, start typing in this one. I mean, if you are curious enough to type in, do that today, or you can watch my video and do it again. Just a public class hello world. Okay, and if you're using Notepad, the basic software which comes with Windows, you cannot see. Yeah, we can use text file. Yes, yeah, we can use text file in Mac. I think I've not installed it, but yeah, you can use it. I'll show you. Like, if you use something like a Sublime Text, the one which I'm using it, I can give a color to it. So SS syntax Java. So see this? A beautiful color came in picture. But in case of a notepad, if you're using it, these colors will not be visible to you, right? So I would just say public static void main. Okay, I'm getting some pop-ups, some suggestions, like the way when you type in anything in your Google, you get suggestions. The same thing, I'm getting some suggestions also, right? So which is system dot out dot println. Just say hello guys. Okay, now when you type in something in your notepad, or if you can download this software, Sublime Text. So this is known as Sublime Text. Okay, it's pretty easy to download it. The way you guys download all the other softwares here. Sublime Text download. Okay, so just click on this, and you would see, depending on what operating system you have, it'll just you need to click on those links accordingly. So Windows 64-bit, Linux, blah blah blah, right? So I'm not worried about whether you guys can do it or not. I know you guys can do it. If you have any problems, well, Google it. Keep Googling it. Okay. So this is one important feature or skill which I recommend all my students. Understand how Google works. If you have any questions, ask Google, right? Any technical questions wherein no one is there, right? I'm not there. I'm here to talk about how to walk, right? And then, well, once you know how to walk, there are hills, right? There are some slopes. You have to figure out how to walk, right? So that's important. So I can explain you guys how to walk. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to explain you how to do programming. Now, after that, the path will be all yours, right? So understanding this concept is very important, guys. Okay. All right. So this is one other software which you have to download it. I mean, it's not compulsory, but I would recommend you guys to do this. And it's pretty good one actually. Okay. Now, depending on what you're typing, you can even change the programs also. Let's say SS Python, right? So this is pretty much looks like Python. So once you download this one, I can explain you like how this works. I'm using Command Shift P to change the colors actually. SS set syntax as Java. Okay, so it has got different syntaxes. If you're writing some Python program, you can see something similar to the Python, how you look into the Python colors, right? So this is like a Java colors. These are all keywords. There's a reason it is in blue color. These are like class names. These are like key words again. These are in different colors. Okay, so we'll talk more about it. But the main objective is to tell you here that it visualize. You can visualize that these are some special things. Okay, all right. So once you type in or write something out here, right? So you just do a Control S, or let's say file, save. You want to save this file, right? So when you save this file, it is going to ask you for a location where you want to save it, right? So that's a typical behavior of any command, Windows, or any application, right? If you type in something in a text pad, you want to save it, it is going to ask you for a location where to save it and what name you want to save it for. So remember that whatever the name of the file here, hello world, H capital, W capital, you have to type in the same name, HELLOWORLD. Okay, and you can kind of save it anywhere, wherever you want. Make sure the name of the file is same as the name of the class here, and you can save it anywhere. But I have chosen a path that is batch33. I would just save it there itself. Okay, so you guys know. I think I don't have to tell about how to save a file in Likewise, right? So just save this file, and this file is saved, and you don't have to purchase this. So from now, if I type in one extra dot, I just say Control S or Command S, or just say file, save. I don't have to save it again, right? Now, I mean, I don't have it's not going to ask me for a pop-up again and again. One time I save it with a name on a particular location, it's no more going to ask me anything, right? But technically, if I come here and say ls, you can see the same file here. Again, as I said, this is a notepad. Type something, save it. So, for example, again, I would say, good morning, guys, right? So this is not a Java program, but just a file. I want to save it. Now, what name you want to save it? I would just say messag.txt. Any name, well, if you're in this programming world, or if you know how to use a software or a computer, you know what is a text file, right? So you type in something in the text file. So I would like to save this content in a text file. So when I do it, save, now I come here and see that I've got two files now. One is hello world.java, one is message.txt. So the same thing, this is the same text file. Okay. So what next? So I have written this Java program. I want to run this program. So all I have to do, Java hello world.java. See that? When I run this program, I get hello guys. So this is the same thing what I've printed out here. Hello guys with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots. The same thing I'm able to see it here as well. Okay, if you want to type or print something, the current date also, you can just say system. So again, remember this. Java is very much case sensitive. I cannot type in S as in small, SYSTEM. It is not going to work out. Out.println. Okay, so I would just say something as new java.util.a. Don't worry about all these things. We'll talk about it. But this is not going to work out. If I try to run the same program, it tells me that there's a problem. We see it as a compilation problem actually. I know that S is supposed to be capital letter. So I would go back to the program and just make it as a capital letter out here. Okay, and then come here, command prompt, run it. Okay, so why you cannot run it here? There are options to do it. To run it from the Sublime text also, but use the command prompt in order to run the program. So here you are able to write the program, and here you are running the program. Okay, in order to run the program, you have to say Java hello world. Something is wrong in the machine. Is anyone hacking my machine? I'm not sure, but yeah. Java hello world.java. When you do that, you would pretty much get output whatever you have written inside this here. Okay, here. All these things you would be getting as an output. Not all these things, right? Do you see something as public class hello world? Do you see public static void? We'll talk about all these things. What are these things? But not today. But you can see that, right? Whatever you're writing it inside, this is what you're getting it outside. I mean, to the output of the program, right? So, any questions, folks, till now? This was a very simple hello world program. You can write a number of programs. Eventually, we will see that how to do it. But as of now, this is a very basics. I think this is what even I spoke about in the previous session also on how to write a Java program, basic Java program. You can just print in hello world. So this is a tradition, right? Whenever we learn anything new, the very first thing we do is type hello world. There's a tradition here in programming world. HELLO, hello world, right? So I would suggest you guys to do that. Here we go. How did you get your Sublime text to complete your words? So it is automatic. Okay, so once you download Sublime text and start typing in, it'll take care of it. The only thing is you have to tell the Sublime text that what kind of syntax is this. So it's something like Control-Shift-P in your case, and type in what syntax you are. Right? I would say set syntax. I can type in set syntax, but shortcut is SS. Java. Okay, so it's pretty beautiful editor, guys. If I would always recommend all of you to use this one, because it saves a lot of things, a lot of time, and you would use this a lot more. You can see like every single programming language, let's say SS React, right, or regular expression, ER lang, HTML. So let's say SS HTML, right? So it comes with some lot of different syntax styles. Whenever you want any kind of programming language, you can start using this one. Okay, so you can use this. And what else? Well, there are so many different other softwares, guys. Okay, so but again, I would recommend this to use for this session at least. I use every time in my work as well. I have installed this on my Linux-based machine as well as on my Windows. Okay, so yeah. Any questions, guys? So if it is not working, let's do this. Do this. What is that? Preference. I don't know how the Windows works, by the way. I think it's just Google it again, right? Just Google it how to change the syntax in Sublime Text, right? In Windows. Let's say, come here. How to change syntax in Sublime Text 3. Let's say Windows. Right, so this is again our skill comes in handy. Should change syntax. So it says Command Shift P is in Windows operating system. Sorry, this is in Mac. Let's see what do they say in Windows. To view syntax, open, blah blah blah. It's talking about, yeah. So what I would do is I would just come here and say in Windows, right? Yeah, you get a whole tutorial, by the way, to understand about this. But yeah, so you'll figure out, I believe, right? It's Control Shift P. I'm sure about that. Try that, okay? There are multiple different options, by the way, but I know it's Control Shift P in order to change your syntax. Okay, but yeah, yeah, there are a lot of videos also. You can figure it out how to do it, right? Not much worried about that. So there's a question coming in. No, I'm using Windows. I have 8 version already installed and running. Would this work? Yes, Nick, it should work. It will work, in fact, because we would mainly discuss about Java 8 features because that's where most of the features came in. So if you have JDK 8, stick with that. No problems. If you still want to upgrade it to JDK, let's say 14 or 13, you can do that also, but it's okay for you to stick to that. Okay. All right. The next thing what I was talking about in the previous session is go to this github.com.